We'll let you see it and it'll let us record.
Right.
All right.
Okay. All right, everyone. Again,
here we go for real this time. Dun, 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 dun.
Good evening. I'm Regina Y.C. Garcia, and I, along with my co-host Karen Stewart, we're really excited to have you all here today on this very first installment of our series, Fall Fantastic Ekphrastic. On this evening, we are blessed to have the wonderful Marjorie Maddox and her daughter, Annalie Hafer, who have put together this marvelous book that I have a copy of, and Karen has a copy of, and hopefully if you don't have a copy of it, you'll be getting it. Oh, I see. Sandra has a copy of it. So we're really excited to hear about the process that has gone in the museum of my daughter's mind. And so we are in for a treat, surely, on this evening. The focus, of course, is ekphrasis. And I wanted to just kind of give you a little overview of what that means. Most of you in here are poets, and you know what that means, but we just want to be, just for the people out there in the larger audience, because this is being recorded. Ekphrasis. Ekphrasis, the description in Greek, an ekphrastic poem is a vivid description of a scene, or more commonly a work of art, through the imaginative act of narrating and reflecting on the action of a painting or sculpture. The poet may amplify and expand its meaning. And so we're going to get to look at some wonderful art and see how Marjorie Maddox looked at it and described it and expanded its meaning. And we're just really excited about that. Okay, let's see, admit. Okay. All right. So I want to begin, of course, by introducing Marjorie Maddox. Professor of English at Lock Haven University, Marjorie Maddox has published 13 collections of poetry, including Transplant, Transport, Transubstantiation, about her father's unsuccessful heart transplant, Begin with a Question, Paraclete, 2022, and the Ekphrastic collaboration with Karen Elias, Heart Speaks, is spoken for, Shanti Arts, 2022, the story collection, What She Was Saying, 4 children's and young adult books, and Commonwealth, Contemporary Poets on Pennsylvania, in which she was a co-editor. Her forthcoming collection, In the Museum of My Daughter's Mind, and it's no longer forthcoming, of course, it is here, an Ekphrastic collection based on 17 paintings by Annalie Hafer, and including work by artists Margaret Moons-Losh, Antar Mikos, Ingo Swan, Karen Elias, Greg Mort, and Kristen Twomley, was published at Shanti Arts 2023. And so for more information, and I'm sure there is much, much more on Marjorie Maddox, you can go to www.marjoriemaddox.com. And now I'm going to turn this over to Karen to introduce our next feature for this evening.
Thank you, Regina. I'm impressed by your pronunciation of all those people's names. So we are sharing these bios that we pulled out of the Ekphrastic review. So we did not pin these, but it's a good way to just let y'all know a little bit of the background on these wonderful women that are with us tonight. So Annalie Hafer is a studio artist based in the Philadelphia area whose work is heavily influenced by famous surrealist painters such as René Magritte, Salvador Dali, and Pablo Picasso, all of whom strove to create their own realities. These works are small glimpses into a particularly confusing but utterly unique worldview that entirely dictates and follows its own specific set of rules. Annalee Hafer graduated from Roberts Wesleyan College in Rochester, New York in 2019 with a Bachelor of Science in Fine Art. She relocated to the Philadelphia area to pursue a career in studio art. Previous experience in the art field includes studio exhibitions at Davison Art Gallery and Rochester Contemporary Art Center in Rochester, New York, as well as publications in Still Point Arts Quarterly. And you can visit her information at her website, www.hafer.org. That is Annalee. So welcome, Annalee. Welcome, Marjorie. And you all are in for a treat and a half. Oh,
Yes, we're excited.
I can't wait.
Yes. And I'm going to attempt to pin now. Oh, I hope this works. Okay.
I'm crossing our fingers on the tech
Crossing our
tonight.
fingers. Okay. Let me see if I can get Annalee. Add pin. Look.
And while Regina's doing that, I'll tell you all that Malika Albrecht King hosted a wonderful Zoom a few weeks back with Marjorie and Annalee talking about this book, sharing the artworks and sharing the poems. And that is why Regina and I were like, that was so good. We got more, we got to have more. So we know what we're saying when we tell you this is going to be a treat and a half. So, all right, you guys, take it away.
Well, thank you so much for having us. And we're excited to be here too. And we appreciate all the work that you've already put into this. So we'll get started here. I'm going to call up my screen because you have to see these images. And let me go ahead and.
Oh, nice.
Okay, there we go. So this book kind of has two beginnings in a way. The first one started in 2018 when Annalee and I took a trip to the American Visionary Art Museum in Baltimore. And we were particularly intrigued by this artist, Margaret Munch-Lash, and that's one of the reasons we went there. And I think it just really, we both loved the exhibit. And I think it really opened up some communication. And I wrote a series of 9 poems that all started with at the American Visionary Art Museum and then the subtitle of the painting. And then the second beginning of this book was when I was doing an exercise with my creative writing students on ekphrastic poetry. I was giving them different images, artworks, paintings, photographs, and just kind of on a whim, I showed them Annalee's webpage, and they were just overwhelmed and extremely positive and excited. And several of them wrote about Annalee's art and ended up, I think 5 or 6 of Annalee's paintings and several of my students and I had poems up at the Ekphrastic Review all together. So that was a really kind of exciting venture. So we kind of laid this out in some ways as if you're walking into different rooms in an art gallery. And you'll see how they kind of play off of each other. I'm going to have Annalee talk about this painting, and then I'll tell you why I'm so intrigued by it.
Okay, so just a little bit about this painting. So this painting is called The Library. There's a couple of components that you'll notice in this that carry over to my other work. One of them is a chessboard. I really like the idea of chess because I think every time you play chess, it's a different game. I think the idea of the chair, I painted that as a form of thinking, of knowledge. And if you notice on the other side, there's a smaller chair with a chessboard. So it's kind of like, I really wanted you to question whether you were sitting in the big chair, maybe you were in the little chair as well, maybe somebody else was in the little chair. And you'll see that there's kind of like this gap and a little bit of a passageway that's going out towards the smaller chair. I really like to extend the space in my work. I like the viewer to be in a place they don't recognize, but also a place that is always expanding. And there's always corners that you might not be able to see. So that's just a little bit about this piece.
And as someone who works with words, I am particularly intrigued by the way that Annalee weaves words throughout the painting. And her paintings are all so layered that when you look closer, you see something else, and then something else, and then something else. And as she was talking about the different perspectives, you know, I look at this at first and see a library, and then it's on the top of a building. You know, I look at this splotch here, and it comes into my mind now, is this on purpose? Is this a mistake? You know, obviously she made a choice to put it here. So all those kind of themes and ideas just are kind of forefront to me. You know, can you stay for a while this way, that way? So there's all these different directions and lots of arrows. And then here are some close-ups, so you can see. So there's more than kind of meets the eye at first glance, which I just always find very fascinating. And this is actually in our living room. So I got it as a Christmas present. So I thought it would be fun for you to see this, you know, right over this kind of similar armchair. And I'm going to come back to that painting at the end. But one thing that I do with a lot of Annalee's paintings is a way that I kind of got into the paintings, or kind of a road into them, is she had all these artist descriptions, artist statements. So a lot of times I will weave the artist statements in italics through the poems, or the words that are in the painting, I will weave them in italics through the poem. Now, this is Margaret Munschlasch's painting White Rabbit. So that was one of the ones that really intrigued us about going to the American Visionary Art Museum in Baltimore, which is well known for displaying works by artists who are all self-taught. And I was drawn to this painting because at first, this is actually her daughter. Her daughter is an adult now, but this is her daughter when she was young. And at first, it looks very deceptively innocent, you know, and she has the bunny rabbit there. But when you look more closely, you'll see that she's entirely made up of bees. So that idea of what's on the surface is not, you know, the limit. That's not all that's there. And I think that idea of looking below the surface and contradictory images and what you show to society, all those things come into play with Annalee's works. So that was something that kind of linked this series. So here are some of the other pieces, some of that were at the American Visionary Art Museum. The gateway reminded me of the inside of a heart, so I ended up connecting that to my father's unsuccessful heart transplant. Greg Mort has stuff in the White House. He paints a lot about space. He has things in the Smithsonian. Here's another piece by Margaret Munschlasch, and this little girl is entirely made up of maggots. So again, it's upsetting when you see it more closely. And Ingo Swann, who is also a psychic. Christian Twomley's piece is more comical, but this Edgar Allan Poe is entirely made up of peeps, those marshmallow treats that you get at Easter time. So I found that pretty fascinating. And here's Karen Elias's works. There are 4 of her pieces in this book as well. And she and I, as Karen mentioned, collaborated on another book, Heart Speaks is Spoken For, that came out last year, also from Shantae Arts. And one of the reasons that Annalee and I published with them is Annalee and I both had some work taken at the Still Points Quarterly. And I've told this story in other venues, but Christine wrote me an acceptance note and wanted to know if I could get a hold of the artist, and would the artist be interested in having her piece in the magazine as well. And I said, oh yeah, I can get a hold of her. She's my daughter. And Christine had like no idea that we were, because of the name difference. She had no idea. And then we were able to later approach her with this collection. So that was really exciting as well. But she had done such a nice job with Heart Speaks is Spoken For with Karen's and my work that I was excited to work with her again too. So here is a painting that really emphasizes those ideas of what society expects versus our own identity. Maybe Annalie, if you want to talk about that, and then we can read the poem together.
Yeah, sure. So this was a painting that I was making when I lived in Philadelphia. I was working on portraits. So I started by making a female face and then doing the body. But when I was working on the body, I felt that it was very cliche. It was very unoriginal. It was very almost boring. There wasn't anything to it. I felt like it was something that I've seen 1,000 times before. So I was really interested in making it different, making it more artistic, and giving a little bit of substance to it that it didn't have originally. So I decided I had gone back and forth between maybe, making the face different, maybe adding like an extra eye or like maybe making the hair different, but I still felt that that wasn't original enough. So what I actually ended up doing was spray painting over the face. And I had left it up, we have kind of like a rooftop deck where I lived, and that's where I would paint when I lived in Philly. And I had gone to work one day and received a call from my roommate that kind of just very upset and saying that she had accidentally spilled some paint on my canvas. And I told her, like, don't worry, I'll look at it when I come home. I didn't want her to like, feel bad or freak out or anything like that. I was like, it's not a huge deal. I'll take a look at it when I get home. And I came back, and all these little kind of brown dots that you're seeing in the upper left-hand side of the image kind of coming down is actually all the paint droplets that she had knocked some paint over and had spilled and sprayed on my canvas. And I looked at her and I said, I really like this a lot better. Thank you. And I think that's an important story to tell because a lot of times people think mistakes are bad, but I think sometimes they can be good sometimes in art. So that's just a little bit about this piece.
Okay, and then again, we're going to read this together. Bare minimum. Beneath whitewash, sternum, neck, skull, the fog of face, the residue of dream released to scream or freedom.
No comment.
Unclothed of skin and woven expectations, bone stacks on bone exposes the core of caustic commentary. What we see is beneath the said.
No comment.
Is not the bared, but the unbearable.
Here I am.
Of society's design on us.
I am.
Breathing bare.
Here.
And when I first looked at this painting, I guess I saw kind of the image kind of underneath. So to me, this looked like a skull that was screaming. And so that's part of the inspiration I had for little pieces of that, as well as Annalie's commentary about kind of the expectations that society has on how women should dress and their appearance. So this one is called Illegitimately Trained. Do you want to talk about this first?
Yeah, sure. So a little bit about this piece. This piece is really about like the arts as a career and other people questioning if it's legitimate or not, if art is a legitimate job, if it's a legitimate career to get into. And some people will say yes and some people will say no. And so this piece is a piece that I started by gluing cotton balls as clouds. I really was trying to get into more of collage work. And so I had made this piece with clouds and did like a skyscape, tried to place the viewer in an unfamiliar place, tried to extend the space back as much as I possibly could. And I had been working as like a personal assistant nanny for a couple of years with this family. And one evening I had them over for dinner, and one of the girls that I was working with would probably been about 6 at the time, looked at this painting that was hanging on my wall and said, she said to me, I think that is smoke. I think that looks like smoke. And I just thought that was so interesting because in my head, it was always clouds. Until she said that, I had never considered it to be smoke. And then after she said that, I started looking at it as clouds or smoke. So I wanted the viewer to also question whether it could be either or. So I actually added a train in the back there. And if you look right deadpan in the center of the painting, you'll see this like tiny, tiny little train. And so the kind of question to you is, it could really be whatever you want it to be.
And then I love the way the title kind of plays off those different meanings as well. The cotton balls are real and the paint. The questions are real and the light. The small and far away loom as large as the not now, but once real yellow, orange, blue sunset or sunrise populated by not clouds, but smoke, not puffs, but cotton. The cotton balls are real and the lines travel someplace across landscapes you've been to in real time or before time or now. Never mind. The bright lines of light shine insight, pool the eyes with swirl that obstructs the tracks traveled once upon a time to someplace not dream, right? At least you'll agree the cotton balls are real and the paint. The questions are real and the light, and someone you and not you opened the view to time moving while you and not you waited on a small painted chair and agreed the cotton balls are real and the paint. The lines line up to something purchased at Rite Aid and Lowe's before the artist pulled out of an open bag, pried out of a sealed can, a train, the tracks, a sky, smoke, you, really. Come see, the cotton balls are real and the paint. And then here are some closes ups of that. And you can see how she added the train in there. And then again, the words that are woven through. And this is a pantoum where you alternate repeated lines. And do you want to mention anything, Annalie?
Yeah, so I made this painting when I was living in Manioc, in Philadelphia. And I thought, when I was living in Philly and being an artist in Philly, I thought it was just so interesting how I was living in this like huge city with all this art and surrounded by all these people, but yet I felt so alone, and not in a bad way, but just like, as an artist, sometimes you have to like isolate yourself in your studio or your house to get work done. So this painting is really about that kind of sense of isolation that you feel as an artist, while also being surrounded by all these people. So that's just what that's about.
And even though we both did these pieces before the pandemic, it also reminds me now of how people kind of communicated across balconies, especially in New York City, but also in Philly. Small, quiet room, big, busy city. The sun finds us anyway, camaraderie of light and dark isolation. We look out windows at each other. In this way, the sun finds us, brightened by the waves of strangers, as we look out windows at each other, connected by warmth and light. So bright, these lives of strangers, and the outside flowers brought in, connecting us to warmth and light. See how they cheer us. Mornings, we bring our flowers out to balconies, display them for each other. See how this cheers us. Camaraderie and light amidst dark isolation. On balconies, we display flowers for each other. In this way, the neighborly sun finds us, camaraderie of light and dark isolation, small, quiet room, big, busy city. And some close-ups of this. And again, you see the difference in the perspective. And I just wanted to show this one because Karen was showing it on Facebook as a poem that kind of inspired her. This one is called Noise. And do you want to just say a word about it, Annalie? I'm not going to read this poem, but.
Yeah, so when I was making this painting, I was thinking about like trying to put music or like music from a street, or like a band playing or a marching band playing in a city, and or just a solo artist playing on the street, and trying to put that into a visual painting. So this kind of like giant orb that you see is kind of like my idea of music or noise kind of striking the buildings, and the people in the buildings are hearing this inside their homes from the street.
And then some close-ups of that. And why don't you talk about the painting first, and then I'll read this poem.
All right, so this painting's called High Top. I have like this table, and you'll see again like there's this chessboard, and I talked about like how I like chess and how it's a different game every time you play, and I think that makes it very surreal. And surrealism is really what the surrealist artist is really my favorite type of artwork. So I have like these two chairs and the chessboard, and I'm really trying to kind of play off this idea of, if you could, if you could play a game, if you could sit next to anyone and have a conversation from, today or anybody in the past, you could sit down and have a conversation with them about something. What would you talk about? And how would that go? What questions would you ask them? What questions would they ask you? So that's kind of like my kind of thought process for this painting.
And I think when I was looking at her artist description, this final sentence, what questions do you have for the dead, kind of set the tone for what then I took off on this particular piece. High top, seesaw balance between ground and muted sky. We ride imagination to life, the one without vacant chairs, chessboard absent of the pieces we forgot to move or bring or pick up from the jagged noise, 9 lives below the paint-pitched roof, the wind-swept air, the sinking sun peering in at other empty chairs, empty tables, empty chairs. What you are saying is the compass needle pole that keeps us whole and here. Such precarious stability on this platform island of 2 minus 2. Are we still we in this unseen grief that keeps trying to listen to soul and scream? And there's another page. High atop the made-up, knee-deep in nostalgia and miles above any scientifically proven memories, you initiate contact. King's Pawn opening. I can almost see your breath. You can almost touch my words. Here, high up in the beyond, waiting for the world's next moves. And this is a painting that I especially love. I just love the sense of motion and movement. And so I tried to make the poem have this kind of toppling effect. And maybe I'll read the poem first, and then Annalie can comment on the painting. Arc. Ladders to below, above to, turn off the faucet to, weeping to, turn on the spigot to, here, now, to unleash the liquid to, water to, weary to, whiplash to, swirl in the iris of horizon to, witness the wet of windswept, to hide in the eye of reject, to float in the drowning of hopeless, to breathe in the rattling of broken, to gasp with the mouth of ocean, to curl with the swish of sudden, to gulp with the whir of twisters, to swallow with the salt of senseless, to blur with the vision of serpents, to spew with the sputum of whales, to reek with the regurgitation of Jonah, to sink in the rise of remorse, to know with the blind eye of Noah, to soar on the dry sky with dove, to circle the submersion of world, to flutter and hover, to dive and discover, to finally land.
So this painting, I was just trying a couple different things in here. I think this was kind of my first time really trying to work with water. And like I said before, I like to kind of put my own spin on everything. So I wanted to make the water very vibrant. I actually painted it first, and then I filled up ketchup bottles with paint and actually lined over. So all these kind of like squiggly like fluid marks that you're seeing are actually from the ketchup bottle that I drew. using paint. And you'll see a couple other things in here. I talked about how in my paintings, I like to extend the space and give you kind of like little different passageways for the viewer to explore or just maybe go somewhere else. So in this one, you can see that I have like this boat traveling, and it's going kind of towards this city that doesn't look like anything that we've seen before. It doesn't look like something that is here as in like on Earth. Looks very otherworldly. I also have all these ladders, and that kind of just goes with my idea of the passageways and going having the viewer go different places. A ladder always leads to somewhere else. So those were kind of my ideas when making this painting.
Here's a close-up. And I know this was one that Karen was also working on, and this painting is actually quite large. So you can see here just with Annalee how large it is. Do you want to talk about it before I?
Sure. So this painting was really inspired by Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. I really like that book a lot because it's Alice's own interpretation of her own world. And that's kind of what painting is to me. It's my own interpretation of my world. So in a way, I'm kind of like Alice. And I think everyone else is like Alice too. They have their own world, whether that be like writing or painting or creating something else. Everyone has like their own sense of their world. And so in this painting, I have a lot of like very Alice in Wonderland themes. I have like a Queen of Hearts that you'll see on a card up there. I have some dice, and I talked about how much I love chess and the components to chess, and just the concept of sitting down and playing a board game with someone. You really get to talk and get to know the person. So I have lots of those components in there, but more so I want to talk about like the specific phrases I used in this painting. And my mom mentioned before, in several of my other paintings, you'll notice like I definitely use a lot of phrases or words or numbers or kind of implement them into the painting. And so with this one, I have up at the top, I have don't look, here, up, down, where, there, nowhere. And so this painting, it's really kind of a contradiction because I made this giant painting with all these beautiful colors. There's so much going on. It's kind of crazy. But at the same time, I'm telling you not to look at it. So it's a giant contradiction. I also have different phrases that I have in here as watch your step. Why would I lie to you, and why would I trust you? And that's kind of playing off the idea of me as an artist. Should you trust what I'm telling you here? I made you this giant painting, but yeah, I'm telling you in the painting not to look at it. If I made you a giant painting, wouldn't the purpose of me making a giant painting be for you to look at it? So it's kind of, it's your own interpretation of what it is. But to me, it's Alice in Wonderland and the giant contradiction.
And people have asked us, kind of our process of working together on this book. And generally what happened was I would look at Annalee's webpage, and she has close-ups of the paintings on the webpage. That's where I'm getting some of the close-ups from. And I would write kind of what I saw there, taking a lot of times the artistic statements or the words again in the painting as a guide. And then I would send it to her and see if it, I didn't want to contradict what she was trying to get at. I wanted to kind of try to capture what she was talking about. And this was one where she, mentioned to me to maybe weave in more of the Alice in Wonderland type of thing. So that was very helpful to know. And then here's a larger piece. You can see there's so much going on. So I think I'll read this piece. This is again is a Pantoum, and you'll see all the italicized words are things that appear again in the painting or in the artist statement. I think I'm going to have to shrink you guys to see all the words. And a shout out to Julie Moore. I think she's still here, and she gave me some really helpful feedback on this poem and a lot of the poems in the book. Your Move. And notice the title is a question mark, but there's more of a statement in the poem. Why would I lie to you? The sun glimmers like a lost pocket watch melting. See how it drips radiance into each shadow shade of thought, each mountain ravine, each swirling field of grass arching toward evergreen. Follow the hair wherever. Better late than never, never falling from here to there. Watch your step. Inside the mind, another landscape erupts, oversized, shrunk, all meaning slanted. Why would I tell you the truth? The missing pieces are yours for the choosing. King or pawn, roll the dice and pick a card to view the other side of story. Daily, the queen of heart rages. Why would I lie to you? Survival is the decision of the soul. 1 square forward, 1 square back, 1 square diagonal, 1 square sideways. Here, there, nowhere. What will you make of this empty space? The deserted chessboard filling quickly with choice. Time is up. The wild sky is falling. Why would I tell you the truth? Or rising with the flares that you've ignited, your luminous lines and arrowed signs leading to destinations far beyond this canvas, where the surreal whirls a vision of green that keeps the world swaying. Don't look up, down, here, where. Just breathe. Don't look. Just keep seeing what's right behind the stars, the skin, the Cheshire's grin. Why would I lie to you? Your move. Oh, oops. And this is another one that actually Julie really helped me with. And I'll tell you why, I guess, at the end. Also one about the imagination, the creation process. Naming creation. Oh, Annalie, you want to talk about the painting first? That might be helpful.
Oh, yeah. I don't have as much for this one. This was something that I was just experimenting with, filled up some paint with gacha bottles and started drawing. I was trying to put a positive spin on a negative word, and the negative word was swarm. I feel like swarm was just something that has always had negative connotations, and in this sense, I wanted to have one positive connotation.
Okay. Naming creation. From her mouth, letters transform, swarm. Her pursed lips release a kiss of them, explosion of light and swirl that redefines the way words slip from cortex to cochlea. Their circular dip into dance and sense twirls at dusk, border of night, day, transformed in the swarm. Her letters' pursed lips beget articulation, reverse total eclipse until inspiration's bright flash of lights swirls, redefines the way words slip, sparks synapse after synapse after synapse, while hand, brain, memory, insight transform the letters to warms. Her pursed lips release painting and poem. No planned script can recreate such abundance of bright swirl that defines the way words slip into meaning, transmission of firefly blips, igniting the mind's sky with inspiration. To write letters transformed by swarming, pursed lips and swirl vision, like this, redefined words slip from her mouth. And the way that my friend and poet Julie Moore really helped me was in the middle here, transforms the letters to warms. I originally had transforms the letters to swarms, but warms is so much better because, you know, it just opens up and deepens the poem. And so that was really a moment of just delight see that suggestion and see where that led me in the poem. So I'm really grateful to Julie for that. I think we're going a little over time. Do you want me to stop, or do you want? No, keep going. I'm looking at.
I would. Can you do one more?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's do this one because this is a fun one, and then maybe I'll come back and do one later on. So, Annalie, why don't you tell the story of this one?
So this is one of my favorite stories about my paintings, and a lot of people tell me this is also theirs as well. But I think it's because a lot of people can relate to it. This was a painting that I made based on an experience that I had in college. When I was in college, I was working at this daycare that was just helping out as a floater, but in between classes. And it was this very expensive daycare. The facility was phenomenal. They had everything you could ever imagine. It was very, very expensive to place your kid there. Probably one of the most expensive daycares I personally ever seen. And so when I was working there were things that I started to notice that I wasn't like, kind of just raised some red flags. And one of them was that there was such a high amount of structure in the daycare for children that were 5, 4, 6 years old. And to me, it really felt like we were kind of pushing them to grow up, to be middle schoolers, to be high schoolers, and be adults almost in this kind of schedule. And kids that age, they can't run on such a structured schedule like that. It takes away the purpose of creativity. And as I talk more about this, you'll see what I'm getting at. One particular day, I was helping out with a class that was talking about the letter E, and I was sitting at a table, and I believe my job was to help them trace the letter E. And the next station, they were talking about what began with the letter E and so on. And so at my station, I had a couple of kids. There were probably about 5 or 6. And, I helped them write the letter E. And when the time was up, they were getting ready to move to the next station. I was getting ready to get new kids and go through the same process again. And one of the girls turned to me and she asked me a question. And she said, "How do you spell narwhal?" And I just thought that was such, first of all, I thought that was completely random. It actually made me laugh because I wasn't expecting it. But I also thought it was cool that she knew what that was at that age. And I also thought it was incredible that she was asking how to spell it. At that age, a kid asking how to spell something is just like, if you're a teacher, your mind just kind of lights up. That's great. You want that. However, another staff member overheard me answering her question and reprimanded both me and the child for that because I wasn't teaching her about the letter E at that specific second when the staff member walked by. And so the whole purpose of this painting is, we're in a school, but yet I'm a teacher, but I'm not allowed to answer a student's question. How is this helping the child in any way? And so this painting is really about creativity, asking questions, not being placed in such a structured environment that forces you to not ask those questions. Those questions are important. We should be encouraging learning in a school.
The letter E. Don't distract me with questions, those extraneous detours that topple learning. E and only E is today's lesson. The enemy of schedules is curiosity, omissions necessary for well-paced delivery. We yearn for no distractions. Don't ask me questions, time-wasting, silly digressions of how and why. Pay attention. Our concern is E and only E. Today's lesson is letter 5. Your inquisitive obsessions are enemies of order. Don't ruin class by distracting me with questions. Creativity's the one transgression I won't allow. Sit still, don't squirm. E and only E is today's lesson. Up next, the letter F. natural progression of learning. Quiet, it's not your turn to talk. Don't distract me with questions. E and only E is today's lesson. And then here's some close-ups. And you can see there's kind of this swirling of the letter E. Okay, we'll stop there for now then.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, so much. That was even better the second time around. And it certainly wasn't just like it was the first time. Because I know we absorbed so much more. Karen, wouldn't you say that we absorbed even more this time than we did the last time?
Yeah, it was like a whole new
It
experience.
was
Just, oh my gosh.
Yes,
Yeah.
just wonderful. And feel free to come off mic and show your
Yes.
yes.
Unmute yourselves.
Unmute
Let's do a
yourself.
big,
Yes.
gigantic round of applause.
Yes.
Yay.
Amazing.
And I think I'm recognizing through the names, I'm recognizing some other people that you've worked with before. Am I correct? I think is Karen, it's Elias. Is she here? Maybe I remember that. Maybe I don't know. Okay.
I know she was planning on being here, but I don't see her
Right.
name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we are just really so grateful. And we know that there are probably some questions looming in the audience. Am I correct? If you do have questions for Marjorie or Annalie, you can certainly come off mute and ask your questions, or you can put it in the chat and we can ask them for you. Any way you want to do that. Does anybody have questions?
I have one.
Yes.
Margie, since we are friends and I'm very familiar with your work, I'm just so struck by how Anna's artwork has actually kind of inspired these poems to also be kind of surreal, which is not usually your thing, right? And to just explode on the page in various rhythms and meters and juxtaposed images. So I'm wondering if you can talk about how her artwork influenced your poetry.
I think
book.
You're right. Thank you. I think you're right. I think it took me in a really different direction, which is sometimes necessary and very good. Because I was kind of relying on these guideposts in her artist statement. I do use a lot more form in this book than I have in other books. And I think part of that was trying to find a way to incorporate the words and phrases in the paintings and in the artistic descriptions. And just capturing that sense of motion and layer upon layer upon layer. So, and I'm not as closely tied to some of the more autobiographical elements in my other work. I mean, it's still in there peeking through here and there, but I'm trying to more kind of immerse myself in what's going on in the painting. But yeah.
Any other questions? I know I have a question, but I'm going to let you go first. Anybody else?
Joan's got her hand up.
Joan, come off mic and ask your question.
I noticed, Marjorie, that you often are addressing a you in the poems, and I was wondering if you were speaking to your daughter or speaking to a universal you. I can imagine having a daughter that speaking to her would be irresistible because she's the artist and you're looking into the painting so deeply.
Wow, I've actually never thought of that. Can I cheat and say maybe a little bit of both? Because I think there is that sense of, because you're looking at the painting and the painting's looking out at you, that you're kind of speaking to everybody in a way. But there's some of the paintings did seem more personal, where I felt like I was more directly addressing Annalie, or maybe even using third person to talk about some things that were common to both of us. And I think also there's that sense of talking to artist, capital A, and writer, capital W, and then also having that bond of artist and writer together with Annalee that kind of worked both ways. I don't know, does that make sense to you?
Does. There's an intimacy expressed that I think could only be often speaking to the artist, speaking to the painter. That's how I heard it. Yeah.
What do you think, Annalee? Did you feel that?
I love that question because that's something I didn't think about before either, but I think it might be, I think I agree with you, Mom. I think it'd be a little bit of both. But I like that a lot. That's a great point.
It definitely opened up, I feel it definitely opened up channels of communication between us. And instead of just mother to daughter, it was kind of artist to artist and, you know, on a whole different level than we were communicating before, I think. So maybe some of that seeps through.
That's, you know, I would say that prior to this, you know, I think that what you've done together really brings home the intentionality that is involved in creating an ekphrastic work. You know, it's not just the description of the artistry. It is also what you bring to it, the speculation, the questions that arise, and the address of that in the poems. And so I really appreciate being able to see it in action and not just read what I read from the Poetry Foundation. But just to really be able to see that, and to I'm looking forward to incorporating some of that technique into my own work, I know, as an artist. But I do have a question for you, Annalee. And
Of course.
yes. So we know that your artistry inspires your mother's production of poetry. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Does it ever work the other way around? Have you ever been inspired to create something based on something that you've read from your mother or any other writer or poet?
Yes, absolutely. So there was, it's really funny because that was actually the first thing I did. So I actually did that in college on a project. I was looking for I had some sort of final art project for one of my classes, and I was looking for some sort of inspiration. And so I asked my mom if she had any poems that she could send me. And so I was reading, yeah, a few, a few hundred. And so she sent me several, and one of them was called, I believe, This Is the Color. Is that right, Mom? Okay. It was This Is the Color. And in that poem, there was this phrase, and I could actually pull the painting over on Zoom and show you because I actually just got it back from them like a few days ago.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Yeah. And so it says, this is your breath left behind on a back porch, your steps clicking. And that like phrase, I just loved it so much. I wanted to put it in my painting. So I'll actually like you might not be able to see the whole thing, but I'll just give you like a little bit of an idea.
Okay. Oh, this is exciting.
I was just going to say the same thing. So exciting.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
I don't know if
wow.
you guys can see the writing, but
Oh my gosh. Oh, yes, I can see it.
And
Yeah.
can you kind of move it up so they can see the rest of the, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That is just, oh my goodness. And would it be fair to say, would it also be fair to say that, you know, I like, again, you know, you talk about Alice in Wonderland, I feel Lewis Carroll. I feel like there's this connection to his work. The first time I ever saw, read anything, I was like, oh my goodness, I felt that. I love Alice in Wonderland too.
You're definitely right. Like
Right.
that in Narnia, for some reason,
Right.
really
Right.
those are very, very surreal stories that take you into another world. Those
Yeah.
were like two of my favorite children's books.
Right.
And they just kind of stuck in my head for the rest of my life. So I think that's a lot of my inspiration comes from those books as well.
Right. Right. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for asking. That was a great question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you both. Are there any other questions from the audience before we? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. My husband does paintings they're totally abstract.
Oh, great.
And drawings. He has some nice drawings. And I've tried to write some ekphrastic poems on those. And sometimes if there's something a little bit recognizable, then it's not so hard. Like I wrote one on the poem looked a little bit like church windows, and we were supposed to write some of the, I can't remember, I guess it was from Isaiah, the Lord's asking people to come back to him. So I began, why not come back? It was the first line, and it was coming back to church. And but again, there was something a little bit recognizable in there that could tip me off, in a sense. If there's nothing in the picture that tips you off to anything, and it's all abstract, what can you do then? Somebody once told me, try to get at the feeling of the painting. Marjorie, do you have any experience with that, or suggestions for how to do something that has like nothing in it that's anything?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I tried to do.
Very, very wonderful, balanced and constructed and all that.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do, was to capture the feeling. But again, if I hadn't had Annalee's artist statements, or if I hadn't been able to ask her sometimes for clarification, usually I wrote a draft first before we would talk. But like that letter E, if I hadn't had that description of the story, it would have probably turned out very, very differently. But knowing that story, then I could see how this sense of kind of swirling and almost like, like a drain going, like education going down the drain kind of thing, that feeling could come out. But if I hadn't had that little key or that little hint of, what direction the story was going, I think I would have been more lost, or I might have just not hit the mark at all. It would have maybe meant something very different. So, it would be harder if I were going to it kind of without that guide.
Yeah, but the poems are wonderful. I love them. I love all the poems, and you're very imaginative with the paintings. I mean, you take off too and go in different directions sometimes. And I think the poems are just wonderful. I particularly like that one. I guess it's the one at the end, the one about the chair going on the Wild Rest instead of Wild West, and the chair going on the whatever that is, some kind of electric ramp.
To show that image. This is one that Annalee just got accepted into a juried art exhibit. So we're excited. I'll just show people the image of that one.
I love that painting. I love that poem. Maybe that's the next one you read. Oh, where am I? Oh, okay, thanks, Evan.
I have a suggestion as well that might help you.
Okay.
I think just asking what the painter is thinking about while they're making the painting, like what they're thinking about while they're painting. That I think that would give you a lot of information too, of just like trying to create writing, because that's what I think about when I write my artist statements. I think about what I'm thinking about while I'm painting. So that just helped me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I could write something that I might see and then ask Henry, is my husband's name, what he was trying to get at. Like that wouldn't be cheating. I wouldn't have to do it all the time, but
yeah. Well,
what was your aim? Because they're very nice drawings, and I would love to do a book of the two of us, you know, and let's see, I think I've had a couple of the poems like that published with the drawing, and that's been very nice. And he does have some really good drawings, and the way of getting them out there too. So thank you, thank you. But I really love this book, and maybe you did that last one as the finale. I know it's long, but it's a really wonderful poem. It's not so long. No, it's not so long. No.
I had a question that's just burning me. I'm just so curious about the process for selecting the works that actually went in the book. And I'm just wondering, like, Annalee, did you have works that you were like, no, Mom, you're not messing, leave this one alone? Or Marjorie, did you have some that you were like, oh, I don't want to write about that one? I'm just curious how did these poems and artworks end up being what's in the book?
So I kind of like created my website first, and I took a lot of like professional high quality photos of my paintings and put them on my website. And that kind of got my mom to do that thing with her students where they wrote poems about my paintings, and that's kind of how that started. So I had those paintings already published on my website. And then my mom used the paintings on my website. So that in my mind, they were already kind of fair game because they were already,
Okay.
I already like put them out there, you know? So she was kind of the one that chose the paintings that, you know, and she can answer this too, chose the paintings and wrote the poems based on the ones that she had the most content with or most creativity with.
And I ended up writing, I think 18, I think 17 was before I slipped another one in there, you know, in the bio from the Ekphrastic review. But I did them kind of in spurts, and it's kind of the fastest book I've ever written because it was like I had my outline. I like writing series of things, but you know, I would write a couple that particularly intrigued me and I was interested in. And then there were some that I thought, well, I don't really know if I have anything to say about that one, or I'm not, you know, sure. And then I would it would weigh on me and I'd be thinking about it. And then I'd come back and, oh, I'd add another one. And then there was another one. And I kept adding ones that, well, maybe I'll write about that one after all. And there were a couple that were a little more difficult subjects. And I think I was a little afraid of them at first. And then it was, but it was really important for me to write them. So, you know, I kind of led up to that.
Yes.
I prepared myself a little bit. Yeah.
Well, y'all did. Yeah, it worked. It worked.
And, you know, then it just really helped because after I'd sent them to Annalee and she'd, you know, she was very encouraging because it's a little scary to write about somebody else's artwork. You know, you don't want to miss the point. And so that would encourage me to try another one, you know, and, you know, so I kind of felt like a little bit of like my students, maybe, you know, like you try it, you're not sure what's going to work. And she'd give me some suggestions or if there's anything that I missed or, you know, be excited about it. And then I think, oh, okay, now I'll try this other one. So.
I just want to say, these are also wonderful because they're all adventures. The paintings and the poems, they're all adventures. You just don't know. And some of them, you know, what's going on? Like I like this transcendental interstate. Whoa, whoa. You know? Or this one, again, I like the high top a lot too. I like that. Well, I like them all, but the swarm, you know, that was a nice idea. You do think of a swarm as something like mosquitoes or something, and to try to flip the perception of that word. That's nice. But they're all the poems are adventures too, because you know, somebody else looking at the paintings, they would write something different, probably. You know, they wouldn't write just what you wrote on, Marjorie. So they're all adventures. They're all just away they go. You know, away they go.
And kind of going back to, I don't know if it was your earlier question, Sandra, somebody's earlier question about kind of approaching the I think it was yours, the abstract work, I did find myself being much more kind of stream of consciousness because of the nature of some of the paintings like that, the interstate one.
Yeah, we are just so delighted to kind of get your insight into how this all came together. I know many of us are going to leave thinking about how we can engage in a similar way, and get some wonderful creations like you both have done. I'm just so excited. You are the very and it's wonderful. I knew it was going to be perfect. It's perfect. You are part one of Fall Fantastic Ekphrastic. And we will have a part two. And so part two involves a visit to a museum. We're really excited about what's coming up next, and that's going to be it is called the Schwa Show. You can't see it. I'm sorry. Anyway, it's the Schwa Show, and that's going to be part two. Look for it online. It is actually an in-person event, and it's in Greenville, North Carolina. And I know many of you will not probably be able to make that, but it will be up on a website. So you can go to that website, respond to the paintings. We are working on being able to have our poetry on the art museum's website, which is really exciting, so that we'll have the visual as well as the poetry, and we're looking forward to many of you here being able to be a part of that. If you are in Eastern North Carolina, or you feel like traveling to Eastern North Carolina, Greenville, North Carolina, that's where we are. East Carolina University is the big university in our town. We welcome you. It will take place on Sunday, October the 22nd at 2:00 at Emerge Art Gallery. And it will be up on our North Carolina Poetry Society page. And if you can't come back and you do go on and look at some of that artwork and respond to it, please know that we have a part 3 coming up that Karen is going to share with us now. Karen?
Oh, yes. Okay. So yes, part 3 is going to be the Zoom Ekphrastic readout. So this is something everybody can participate in. It's going to be a Zoom on Sunday, the 29th of this month at 5 p.m. And we are just inviting people to come and bring their original poetry that they've written in response to art. And we're going to just do a full-on open mic sharing experience. So we hope that everybody will find some art between now and then, write in response to it as only you can, and be sure and make a note of the name of the artwork, the artist, and where you found it, because that's really important to give.
Here, can I ask a question about that?
No, yes, of course.
Yes, of course I can. Would it be possible if someone has the image of the artwork that they wrote about to screen share during that event?
Regina, yes, we'll do that. Yeah, because that's so totally cool, right?
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's really helpful to see it all, isn't it?
Yeah,
yes,
so
wonderful.
It'll be a very fun Zoom. It's open to everybody, and I am going to put the link in the chat before we leave tonight. So be sure and save the chat right before we get out of here. And the way you do that is wherever your chat note is, there should be 3 dots beside it. And right before we leave, we'll remind you to do that. You can click to save chat, and it will magically put everything that's been typed into the chat into the downloads on your computer. So you'll have that link to be able to register for the Zoom Ekphrastic readout. Did I describe that pretty well? I totally went off script there, Regina.
Wonderfully. You did wonderfully. I'm so excited about all of this, and I certainly do encourage you, Marjorie and Annalie, to look at the chat, because it was blowing up. It was just wonderful, yeah. And I want you to know how just blessed we are to have you here. We really are. We want to move in. I know we might be a little bit into it, but we said we were going to have an open mic, and
we're having an open
mic, right?
We're having an open mic.
And so if you are interested in reading for the open mic, if you put your name
You know what, Regina, let's just, well, we've got some that aren't on screen. I was going to say, y'all just put your hand up and we'll write your names down, but
Okay, so
you want to go with typing it in the chat?
I think typing it in the chat is good. Unless you can't type it in the chat, just let us know. You know, if there's something that is going to prevent you from doing that. I'm going to, let me see, pin there, and then I'm going to pin here. And so when I come to you, I'm going to pin you, and you can go on and get started. We thank all of you for being here tonight. It just wouldn't be what it could be if you were not here. Okay.
So if you're
so
able
I'll
to chat, yeah, put your name in there. Have you
Right.
got Joan and Laura?
Right. Christy, are you reading? I can't hear you. You're on mute.
She says no for
No.
Christy.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
All right.
All right.
I would like to read, but I don't see where to put my name.
Okay.
Okay, Sandra, we've got you written down.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Jennifer, do you want to nod? Nope, Jennifer's a no. Okay, I'm just calling people out here. Kathy Ackerman? No, Kathy.
she
All right,
has
well,
it.
Joan, we got Joan. How about Leanne? Sharing an open mic tonight? All right, I'm throwing my name in the hat. Y'all know I'm a big ham. I always got to read something.
And me too.
Regina, I know you're reading something.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right,
Okay.
Donovan, who I don't see on
He's right
the
here. I see him.
screen.
Donovan, are you reading?
No.
No. Okay. Okay.
Donovan's a no. All
All
right, so we have Joan, Laura, Sandra, Karen, Regina.
Okay. And Joan is first. Joan, I'm going to pin you. All right.
Go
Drum
ahead.
roll.
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
I don't see the pin, but
But it's
That's
there.
okay.
You're here.
all right.
Mhm.
So October. See how the roads fill overnight with fallen leaves and are blown clean by early morning. A tang in the air I taste, and the chill there. I have walked these roads in summer and in spring, in the steam of Carolina and its blossoming. I have crunched a skin of frost beneath my boots, but first, this ripening, the chilling into winter begins with this brightening.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Joan.
Oh, Joan.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Karen and I were talking about natural scenes and how is our response to that, is that an ekphrastic response? I feel like it was. Were you responding to an experience, right? I don't know. Okay. Thank you so much, Joan. Next is Karen. Who's next?
next we've got Laura Youngberg.
Laura.
Hey, I'm gonna apologize in advance
What?
because my video keeps going out. You know how I keep dropping?
Yeah.
I'm not doing it on purpose.
I thought you were
It's
being
just
flirty.
deciding to turn my camera off randomly for no apparent reason. So yeah, this really inspired me. So I was looking at some of my ekphrastic poetry, and I wrote one a while back. Karen's probably heard this, but that's okay. This is called Landscapes, and it's after a photo by LaToya Ruby Frazier, Edgar Thompson plant, and the bottom, which I believe is at MoMA.
Yes.
Yes. Embedded in my being is the rhythm of the rouge plant. Snap, drill, bang, clang. Move to the next car, the next task. As we age, I look for you in the landscape, in the small houses that sheltered us whole. We shed the decay, rot, and steel that intersect our lives, that bruise the terrain of our bodies, strip down and reveal, hidden under scrap metal and parking lots. There are trees, life, and the river that runs through it all. Thank you.
Oh.
The
My
river
video
that
did
runs
go up.
through it all. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. I was trying to type it's hard to type a comment and
I know.
it's wonderful. Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Cool. Hey, I want to throw a shout out to that Laura. Laura, I think, is the one that turned me on to Museum of Modern Art. MoMA has a great program they've been doing online. It seems to be random. I don't know, but go to their website. They do a program occasionally where they have a poet present some pieces from their collection and give you some really interesting prompts, and everybody does prompt writing, and that's where Laura, that one came out of that, didn't it? The poem you just shared. It's a great MoMA. You guys Google their site, it's called MoMA Writing Club,
Right.
and they do it online. I think maybe once a month. It's great. Okay,
I just put a link in the chat.
Oh, you're good. Thank you.
Okay. Who do we have next?
Next up, we have Sandra.
Sandra.
Okay, this
No, I'm trying to find.
I don't know if this is an ekphrastic poem or not, because here's the picture. This is a picture of Saint Joseph, sculpted, not a portrait. It's a sculpture. It's a sculpture done by a man named Donny McManus. He's an Irish sculptor, and this particular picture of Saint Joseph holding the child Jesus is particular sculpture, is in Florida, and it's let's see, 6 feet tall, bronze sculpture, and I think it's okay. Is it okay to read this, Marjorie, if I send it into the magazine, or would yeah, it's okay. All right, okay. This is called Father, Carpenter, and Infant Son. Joseph does have some carpenter things here on his body. He has a hammer there at his waist, and kind of a nice looking linen piece of clothing there. But the point was that I guess Donny McManus was trying to inspire fathers to be more loving to their sons, more connected and available to them. Yeah. Okay, so it's called Father, Carpenter, and Infant Son. Inspired by a 6-foot bronze sculpture, Saint Joseph and the Child Jesus, by Donny McManus, and by my grandniece and grandnephew's family. I know this man. He understands his part. To love without measure, to frame support, fatherhood. He holds the baby tightly to his heart. The child turns toward his smile. Two merge as one. I know this child, formed with a dangerous rift within the womb, no functioning kidney. Father will sacrifice his own, a perfect match. In 15 months, surgeons direct, schedule the saving operations, travel to Children's Hospital, come. COVID plagued such plans. Hospital entries shut. Parents practice treatment at home. Dialysis spends the night for 18 months. Mother's a nurse in the reappointed room. Father, carpenter, builds. As electrician, restores heat, light. Son, successful transplant completed at 18 months, now has turned age 4. Late afternoons, they rush to embrace each other at a wide front door. That's a story. That's a story. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Oh, that was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's quite a beautiful act on part of my grandniece's husband. Indeed,
Nice.
Indeed, it was quite a time. Yeah, our whole church was praying, and it was all quite amazing.
All right,
Nice.
Karen, who do we have next?
Apparently, we have Karen Stewart. Oh, wow. Okay, great.
Karen, yes. Hold on, let me pin you.
Oh,
There we
Lord.
go.
All right, you're going to get me big on your screen now. So, okay, Marjorie hooked me into doing this before we went live with everybody. So I'm going to share a poem that I wrote in response to Annalie Hafer's artwork, Your Move, that's in the book. Can y'all see that? This one? Remember this one?
What's it called?
This is Your Move. It's on page 68 in the book. Your Move. And so thank you, Joan. I like your pantomime. Can you see it a little better now? Yeah. So what, Joan, I have to talk to you real quickly. So I was so interested in your question when you were talking about the you that is in the poem. And I was fascinated by Marjorie's answer to that, and just hearing Annalie talk about that. This poem that I wrote, I did basically in response to the artwork. No offense, Marjorie, but I was like, I didn't want to be intimidated by your poem. So I'm like, I'm going to just pretend that's not a thing. And I'm just going in this painting. And my poem is written to a you. And I realized when I finished it, who am I talking to? And I realized apparently I was talking to myself, but I didn't realize it until I finished the poem. So here it is. This is about your move. Listen to the shuffling harumph of the cards clearing their throats as they try to realign themselves. You can realign yourself. You are not a card, though you are the queen of hearts in your heart. You can pick a card, any card, but don't look. The easiest way to convey a poker face is to keep your cards close to your chest. Fake the rest. The possibilities are endless. Endless. Begin more. Everything is only black and white if you're standing on a chessboard where, as queen, which you are, you can move in any direction and conquer any challengers or any challenges you butt up against. Yes, you can be captured, but this is an issue for only as long as you choose to keep playing the game. You can always roll the dice again and again. You choose your moves in whatever game you play, or you pick up the board and you toss all the pieces to sky. Contrary to the saying, sky is not the limit. It's cloudy, it's gray, it's blue, it's clear, it's full of sun, but do not look into that. What your mother said about staring into the sun is true. She's a poet. She knows about unlimited things like you, and about all manner of stars and shine. And you are a star, our shine, our artist. You make the grass greener wherever you choose. Your move. You create worlds. Check, please. And thank you very much.
Very nice.
There's that.
Very good. That's
I love that.
Let's drop the mic.
That's a little nerve-wracking to read that with Annalie and Marjorie here.
Excellent.
I loved it. I loved it so much.
I love your artworks, and Marjorie, I love your poetry, and this has just been fabulous. Oh my
That would be
goodness.
great if we could have a copy, Karen, if you wouldn't mind sending.
Oh, I would love to send
Absolutely,
you a
I would love
copy.
that too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice tribute. Nice tribute. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, next up on our list of open mic readers would be Miss Regina Y.C. Garcia.
Hello, everyone.
Regina.
So this poem is actually not the poem that I was going to read, but then everybody started doing their ekphrastic poetry, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on. So I wanted to show. I don't know if you can see this. You probably can't. But what I have here is too much glare. I know. But what I have here is actually a Western. It's a mask that was on display on exhibit in the North Carolina Museum of Art. It is a Western Pindi artist from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And it's 20th century wood, paint, and cloth. It's a face mask. So a ceremonial mask. And so when I saw it, my mind immediately, I always link image to word. So the poem reflects the mask, but it also speculates. Okay. This is entitled Mask Un. They brought the mask, secreted under the spells that would keep them alive in deviled, stolen lands. These minor gods would die without the care that would secret, secure, and prophesy. So they hid behind masks and whispered wizened words and chanted and entreated for endurance and drew star charts on mind maps to freedom, body free, soul free, masks that looked like submissive smile and sorrowed skin, sometimes even like disparaged defeat. But underneath the cover were working dreams, prayers, schemes that they might be initiated into liberty. Masked like tears, masked like less, yet grew like more. Through tangled branches and blood-soaked trees and protest lines, brutality through loss, gain, the mask that heals and brings into light still remains inside of me. Thank you.
Ooh, Regina, lighting it on fire.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm.
And we have actually saved the best for last. We are bringing back to the stage Marjorie and Annalie with a final poem for us. This has been a wonderful, wonderful evening of poetry, and I'm going to stop talking and let you get right to it.
Well, since Sandra mentioned it, maybe we'll end with that Wild Arrest poem.
Thank you. That's nice.
And did you want to say anything about the painting, Annalie?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. So this kind of goes with the Sun on South Street painting that I made, where I talked about how, like, being an artist, sometimes you kind of isolate yourself a little bit, even though if you live in a big city. So this is kind of a similar theme. And the concept is that you really need, and when you're an artist, you really need to have those moments of isolation, those moments where you can sit down and just relax and just honestly just think. Because if you're constantly busy and constantly rushing around, you don't have any time to think about your artwork. And the process of thinking about your artwork, I think, is the most important part, because that kind of brings everything else together. So this painting is about taking time for yourself, taking time to rest. Even in this kind of crazy society that we have, it's important that we take care of ourselves too.
And the book started with this poem, The Library, and then this is the Wild Rest is the last poem. So having those armchairs kind of book and the collection seemed appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Wild Rest. What does it mean to rest this lazy? Oh, and I should say that this is a sestina. So you'll see there's 6 words repeated in a set: rest, chair, wild, wander, relax, wind, in a set pattern throughout. And then you have all 6 words in the last stanza. What does it mean to rest this lazy afternoon in an overstuffed chair, gazing out at a world so wild with wonder, the mind cannot help but wander out amidst the trees, relax in the hammock of wind? In this cushioned space, imagination rewinds the mind with quiet, calls in the calm. The rest of the house yawns while you stretch out, relax into the imprint of self in the tattered chair before the familiar view. A wonder, really, the paradox of renewal, its wild witness of a world gone wild with vision. Passive breeze become wind, whipping into adventure to wander the rugged terrain of contemplation. Likewise, rest is a carnival tour of the spontaneous. Strap in. This chair roller coaster ride begins with relaxation, while the mind unbuckles boundaries. Relax and the mind climbs high, breathe, and far below, wild whack-a-moles pop in and out of the fields. From a simple chair, well worn with inspiration, the valley's wind carries you both to and beyond the now. The rest is the miracle of repose, the way doze leads to wonder and wonder. Funhouse of Mind's Museum. Wander the labyrinth of spirit. Inhale, exhale, relax, breathing in the scent of the divine, each blessed rest of Sabbath. Creation's electric chariot ride to the wild begins with, be still and know. All pass winding back to this room and its well-worn chair. So count to 10, sing childhood's ABC in the same chair where your mother rocked you into a world of wonder, where you first learned that breath and wind are cousins, reciting rituals of relaxation in a world steeped in chaos. Embrace the wild in calm, the journey in rest. Here in this chair, the origins of wonder. Hear the rhythm of wind, breathing relaxation, daily recreated in your own wild, wild rest.
Oh,
wonderful. Oh my gosh. Wild.
oh my
And I love
goodness.
how that ended. Wild, wild rest.
Mm.
Yes.
Wow.
And I love those artworks being the bookends on the collection. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Yes. Thank
You
you.
gals.
Y'all. Yeah. Yeah.
Can
So,
we do it like a gigantic, everybody open their mics and let's just do some whooping and some applause and good gracious.
And for all of you.
Annalee and Marjorie and
Beautiful.
everybody that was here
Beautiful.
tonight, just,
thank
oh
you.
my goodness.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
That was
Thank you
amazing.
very much.
And we look forward to more time like this.
Yes.
You know, we want you back to present. We want you to come back and just hang out with us.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, we're looking forward to much more with North Carolina Poetry Society Presents. We hope you'll join us at the end of the month to kind of see see what turned out of the fire that you lit here tonight.
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I did put the link in the chat, so I hope everybody can see that and save the chat or make a copy of that link. So we hope to see y'all in our Zoom toward the end of the month, sharing our works. Marjorie and Annalee, just thank you so much for putting this, creating this. It is amazing. It is a gift that keeps on giving. It's incredible. And y'all, if you don't have it yet, you better get it because you're going to want it.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes
know
on the
you
North
want it.
Carolina Poetry Society page for the upcoming events. We'll do some event pages for it so that you can make sure you get that on your calendar. Tell your friends, and if you want to come to Greenville, you know, great. That would be great. It's gonna be fun. I'm really excited about that. And so but I encourage you, if you don't get to come to Greenville and for whatever reason, I don't know what could happen that would keep the exhibit from not being on the website, but you can certainly respond to art wherever you are, at your area museums, in your
and online
family
too.
photo albums.
You can pull up most museums online too, museums
That's
and
right.
gallery. Yes, you can do it online also. Look at some images.
Laura, you wrote that poem in that moment that had the video with the river.
Oh yeah, that's
Yes.
a different one. Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
good
fun
one.
poem.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you all for coming. We look forward to seeing you. Big shout out to my partner in crime, Karen.
Shouting back at you.
And all of you here on this evening.
You guys are too much fun.
No, it's you. It's you, girls.
It's you. Yes, right. Marjorie, we'll be in your inbox soon. So
yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you, everybody, for being here and
Thank you
sharing.
so
And
much.
just, oh my goodness.
Bye.
Thank you.
And Regina, do you want to tell everybody this is recorded? Where will they be able to find this recording to relive the good times?
Okay, so this recording will be found probably in a day or two on the North Carolina Poetry website.
So North Carolina Poetry
No,
Society,
excuse me, not the website, the Facebook page.
the Facebook page.
The
So
Facebook
go to
page, but it
Facebook.
will be on YouTube. So even if
Okay.
you, for some reason, don't have Facebook, you can go to YouTube. We'll make sure you get that YouTube link.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Y'all
you.
take care. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all so much.
Bye.
Thank you all.